Okay, everybody, look who's on the show today. Another friend of mine that I met through basketball. Great dad. We're gonna drop some good nuggets, man. This is Brihanna Creed's dad, Greg Cretin. We always lose our identity in that kids. I should have said Greg Cretin, Brianna's dad. But that was vice versa, huh? So what's going
No,
on, man?
it's Crittendon. So Greg Crittendon.
Crittendon. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
I got
everybody
it.
says it differently, but no, Crittendon.
Yeah, it's Crittendon. I got it for the rest of the show, man. So where we coming live from, Greg? Where are we coming live from?
We're home. I just finished up practice with my son Bryce, and we hustled home to get down and take a few minutes to talk with you this evening. So that's
what city we in? What city we in?
We're in Denver, Colorado, but actually Thornton, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver, about 15, 20 minutes from the city. So yeah, that's where we're at. Thornton.
Well, good set, man. Good. Well, let's jump right into it because I know you're busy. You're tired from practice, man. Give me a little bit of history, man, about you, and we'll get into BC later. Just talk a little bit about you guys' relationship. We can get into it, man, and the transition from coach to dad. You know, we'll get a lot of stuff we'll touch in, man.
Yeah, well, Brihanna, really got started about second grade with basketball. Probably sooner than that. It's kindergarten. She played kindergarten basketball, and at that time, I didn't want to coach her. I just wanted her to get some experience with someone else. But she actually had a coach who had a soccer background. So I went to a practice, and they were literally doing soccer drills and things like that. I think I'm going to have to coach her because, they did more soccer things than they did basketball. And her coach was a high-level soccer player. So I approached the coach and said, this is basketball, not soccer, and then she invited me to help. And, I've been helping ever since. But it was interesting, because, we didn't force anything on Brihanna. And how it kind of happened is, Brihanna, she was okay when she started, but she had a lot of, she had a lot to work on. And she came home one day and literally just said, hey, Dad, I'm ready to work. Because I always said, Brihanna, I want this to be your journey, not ours. And, I explained to her the difference. I said, there's a lot of kids that are interested in things, whether it's, sports, school, band or whatever, but there's a difference of being committed. And so at an early age, I kept explaining to her what it meant to be committed to something. And, she kind of in second grade, little second grader came in and said, Dad, I'm ready to be committed. I want to be great. And so we kind of laughed. And, that's when we really started her journey. We got her, we formed a team. It was all boys, and she was the only girl on the team. And, they stayed together from second through, fifth grade, and she played with boys. And, in fifth grade, we, started some light training and different things like than myself. And, and that kind of was the start of it. Then we, in sixth grade, she joined Colorado Lockdown and, played on that team. And I was, at that time, I didn't want to coach. I kind of just wanted to sit on the sideline. And, at that time, shortly after I was invited to help coach, and, I helped coach where, she played club basketball for 5 years, with Colorado Lockdown before she joined Jason Kidd this year. And, along the way, she trained with Jody Hollins, and, that's been her trainer probably since fifth grade, and, Jody's 45 minutes from us. So we made the trek to Jody 2 to 3 times a week.
That's commitment.
That's commitment. So I tell her that she's probably made me buy 2 to 3 trucks in her basketball journey because of the mileage that she had us put on those. And even to this day, we still train with Jody and make the 45-minute drive. My wife and Brihanna drove down today and actually trained with Jody today. Jody has his own facility now, and he's able to train and help more kids. But that's the background. I mean, and kind of the rest is history. But it kind of, the foundation of it all is, really, we want it to be her journey. And, we talk a lot in our house about run your own race, so at a very, very early age, we were able to help Brihanna focus on, things Brihanna related, and, not look over her shoulder all the time. And I think probably that's one of the things I'm probably the proudest of is, she's ran her own race. And, whether it's highs or lows, those things that a kid goes through, to me, is just part of their story. Everybody's story is different. Nobody's story, goes quite like a fairy tale. So, we always just, take the highs with the lows and we keep moving and we move on. So that's kind of just a little bit about, Brihanna and the background and how she got started with basketball.
Well, that's good stuff, man. And I got to transition to something since you said it. We might as well transition into it, man. You said to move. What precipitated to move over to J Kidd? Because I first met Brihanna back in at Blue Star. Blue Star 30 when she was going into the 9th grade. And you guys were at lockdown. And, it was really a family type atmosphere, really solid. And then I saw you guys making the move over to J Kidd. You don't have to get in it too much, elaborated on it too deep, but what facilitated that move?
Well, lockdown was great for us. I mean, we played at Colorado lockdown for 5 years and it was great. I mean, Colorado lockdown is a lot of what formed the foundation for Brihanna and how Brihanna plays. And, it was awesome. I think a lot of the times when people leave these clubs and go to different clubs, everybody thinks there's a fallout. Everybody thinks it's negative. We have nothing negative to say about Colorado lockdown at all. The one thing that, all along, it's kind of one of those things. I've always said Brihanna might want to do something her last year in club basketball that's different. Mm-hmm. So, when you stay at a club for 5 years, and you're going into your last year, sometimes you just want to do something that's different. When you move on to college, you can't play shoulda, coulda, woulda. Sometimes the thing to do is to try something different and to draw upon 2 different experiences and kind of get the best of both worlds. I mean, Jason Kidd organization is a top-notch organization. It's incredible. I mean, the girls, the players, the parents, the director, Armando. I mean, it is a great organization. The one thing that really probably that was probably instrumental in the played Armando a lot. Armando knew a lot about Brihanna, and he really wanted Brihanna to play. So, that had a lot to do with it. It wasn't like we were looking for, an opportunity. I mean, the opportunity just presented itself. And so, Brihanna, has met Jason Kidd several times and talked with him several times and, has a lot of those resources and everything. So we just like to look at it as, Brihanna's had the best of both worlds. I mean, she's played with Colorado lockdown, grassroots organization, great organization. And then she's able to, join Jason Kidd and play for a terrific organization like that. So, I mean, hopefully when we look back, it was one of those things that just, it kind of laid the foundation for all to come.
Yeah, well, Jason Kidd and I, we're from the Bay Area. So Jason Kidd grew up in he played high school ball over in Oakland. Well, he played at St. Joe's High and over in Alameda. So him, Gary Payton and all that. So I'm kind of actually, we used to go to the same barbershop there in Oakland. So I knew about J Kidd. They exploded on the scene. Their only organization is 3 or 4 years old, but like you said, a heck of an organization. And they're doing a good job in getting these kids the right exposure, playing the right way. I got a bunch of kids that I've interviewed. I know Ron Lee with Jordan.
Yes, very well.
Jordan, yeah. So Jordan was there over there on the kids circuit. So that was pretty neat to hear him talk about that too, man. So, and unfortunately, you won't be able to play with Lesko. She's was coming over to the kid too, right? But she blew her knee out, right?
Yes. She played last year with them, and it would have been nice to to play with her. And a lot of it is it's nice to play with a lineup that kind of looks a lot like a lineup in college. And when you play with really high level players and everything like that, it just adds depth to the type of player that you are. And she's a good teammate. I mean, she went to the Hawaii trip. She's come to different tournaments. She's always, at the games that she can get to, and and she cheers for those girls as if she's out there. So
she's a good kid. Another good kid. Yeah. So I had her dad, Aaron, was on the show a couple weeks. Did you see that one? You got to go back and look at some clips. Aaron dropped some bombs. He dropped some bombs too, man. So, but let's get into some things that you really like to talk about. You said something about the difference between would you, if this chance going around, would you have your kid? I know in Texas how I would feel about it, but playing prep as opposed to high school. I don't know in Colorado what's the difference, but right now in Texas, I probably would be leaning towards prep as opposed to high school. What's your feeling on that?
Well, I think each situation is different. I think it just depends on the resources that are available, in that city, competition level in that city. Here in Colorado, we have a lot of good players, and, a lot of good coaches as well.
Yeah.
Competition level is really good here in Colorado. We're also a really close family for us. So for us, to send Brihanna off when she's 16 to live outside of our house, we're not quite ready to do that yet, So, she's going to leave when she gets to be, 18. She's going to go off to college. So, when we looked at what we did, it didn't make sense for us, to have Brihanna be out of our household, and not be around her family sooner than later. So, we held off that. Now, I might have a different tune if we had high-level prep schools here in Colorado. We don't have prep schools for girls here in Colorado currently. So many states away. And, right now, we just, parenthood is something that we really enjoy. So, we really want to be around our children. We want her brother Bryce to be around his sister, and so for us, it was an easy decision to not do that. But for some, I see it, if you're in a small town or if your, circumstances are different and you want to go get the work, so to say, and get ready for college, man, I don't knock that at all. But all I would always say is just, it's not a one size fit all when it comes to high school versus prep school. I mean, there's probably pros and cons about it all, because there are some really high level high schools as well. When you really think of Lou High, when you think of some of these high schools out there, I mean, there is, the Sidwell Friends and so forth. I mean, they're pretty high level too. So you don't necessarily need to, do the prep schools if it doesn't make sense for you.
No, I understand that, man. So that's good stuff, man. And I know, like I said, in Texas, it's a little different on the prep school, high school thing. And with my daughter, if I had to do it, I would lean towards more prep school, but hopefully it would be regional and more local than trying to send her all the way off to Florida. I know Finley Chastain had, and Sean had sent Finn over to Mount Verdi when she was young. So, but he packed up and went with her. So, so that's good stuff, man. So let's talk about the recruiting process, man, and how it's going and the landscape of recruiting, how it's going now and how you guys are juggling, all of this stuff. Cause I know it could get a little bit overwhelming at times. So let's dive into that real quick.
Well, I think, the recruiting, I mean, I don't know. I kind of look at, I'm from the old school. To me, pressure is a privilege, so when you look at recruiting, and getting the opportunity to talk to lots of coaches and, and learn from their experiences, a lot of these coaches have played, college, have played in the W. So I think for an individual that can ask the right questions and draw on others' experiences, I think it's a great opportunity to help players kind of understand what they're getting involved with. So, we actually enjoy the recruiting process, because, we're pretty good at, I mean, one thing that's funny is a lot of people, always like to say, hey, I bet your phone's ringing all the time and everything. And, kind of what happens is as you progress and as you get closer to that, decision day, I think the amount of calls kind of go down, because I think people kind of know, the ones that, have a chance. And then I think the ones that, maybe don't have a chance, hopefully, we're really honest and we're really straightforward. So, if it's not a fit for Brihanna, I've shared with schools that it's not a fit, just because I want to respect their time. And so, the ones we really are talking to are the ones we're really interested in. So, that changes the game right there to be able to, focus on, fewer than more when it comes to the recruiting deal. So, we haven't taken, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We haven't taken a ton of visits. I think in today's age, you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot online about colleges. You can learn a lot from talking to other players. You can just learn a lot about a college. So then when you go to visit that college, you know, you kind of go into the visit kind of knowing a little bit more than maybe you did, you know, 10 years ago when things weren't as accessible as they are today. I mean, there's virtual tours to really get a lay of the land before you actually go there.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get a little bit in your business. Who impressed you? Who give me something. You don't have to tell me names or all that, but give the people out there something, man, so they can at least have a little bit of hope.
Well,
Who
if
impressed
you know me, if you know me, I like to talk, and so I enjoy talking to about everyone, just because I can ask questions in a way that I'm going to get something out of it, whether it's a nugget or two to help my boys team that I coach. If it's a nugget that might apply to Brihanna, it might be a nugget to the other 8 to 10 girls that I'm really close to that are in the same journey with Brihanna. I kind of go into it with the deal. You probably wouldn't believe this, but I probably talk about those other 8 to 10 girls more than I do Brihanna with them, because, you know, Brianna's kind of on cruise control and she can kind of handle some of those things on her own, you know, but there are a lot of parents that have a lot of questions, and I just take the opportunity to maybe ask some of the questions that I'm getting from some of these parents.
Yeah.
You know, I might ask some of those coaches, but, you know, I enjoy a lot of them. And, you know, I don't really.
You sound like a politician there. You sound like a politician. You're not telling me who impressed you. Just give me some leagues. Give me some leagues or something.
Well, obviously, you know, I mean,
there got to be some leagues you like.
I mean, the SEC impresses you.
There you go. You had to give me details.
The Big 12. I'd say everybody in the Power 4 impresses me. You know, I didn't carry. I mean, so I'm able to really enjoy talking about any and everybody. I think that you can learn something from everybody. So, you know, I mean, yeah, do I have my favorites? I got about 5 or 6 that I really enjoy talking to, but, you know, it's not like I'm talking to much more than that, but I got about 5 to 6 to 7 that I really enjoy talking to. And just so I don't leave anybody out, I'm gonna probably not say anything right now.
That's why I said conferences. That's why I gave you an out. I gave you an out. I said conferences.
Yeah, I gave you the conferences. I mean, but I will tell you, Brihanna wants to win a national championship. You know, she was able to win a high school, you know, championship. So one of her goals is to win a national championship. You know, I think when you look at that, I think there's probably, you know, I think there's 20 schools that I think can just, you know, be in that conversation maybe next year.
Well, you know, these rosters change annually. So you look up and a team is this way this year, and they're going to be a team this year that we didn't know who was going to be. We didn't know whether they were going to stand because they came in with a whole new transfer group, and now they're good. So roster reconstruction happens.
26 classes taking so long to decide where they go. I mean, that right there within itself is probably one of the reasons why. You know, I mean, everyone really asks us when we're going to make a decision. I mean, we'll probably be in it for the long haul when it comes to making a decision. We haven't done an official visit yet, so we really can't make a decision before we do an official visit. You know, we'll have official visits coming in October, but, you know, Brianna's recruiting is wide open right now. And, you know, and I think that's also what keeps a lot of the pressure off of her right now. She doesn't Is there
any logistics in terms of regionals where I want to be a certain part of the country? I'm tired of Colorado and all this beautiful area and the snow. I want to try some other area.
We've traveled our whole life. So Brianna's very versed in traveling. So I always like to say, you know, we like to be within the 2 to 2.5 hour flight from home.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at it like that, Denver has a regional airport, you know, a 2-hour flight from home up to 2.5 hours, you know, makes a lot of sense for us and our family. And, you know, it gives us the freedom and flexibility to, you know, get out there anytime we would need to get out there. So, but, you know, Denver's a really located place and we can get places pretty easy. And, you know, Brihanna likes the West Coast. I'll tell you that. Brihanna likes the ocean. Yeah. She likes the sun. You know, Brihanna likes to shop. So, you know, there's malls everywhere. You know, Brihanna likes nice restaurants. So most cities have those nice restaurants. It's almost like, you know, what checks the boxes on places that she likes to visit and things she likes to do. And those are a lot of the things she likes to do.
Okay. Well, After that explanation, I won't say my next statement. About 45 minutes away, get in a car and drive to a place. I guess that's the. Is that an option?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the hometown school is always an option. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that an option? Because they be balling there too.
You know, going to CU basketball camps. I mean, I think if Brihanna had obviously, CU is definitely in the mix. I mean, so you can't count out the home school, and you can't count out a school that the young lady grew up going to the camps that they used to have. I mean, I remember picking her up there. We have all that, so they are definitely in the mix. But again, at the same time, I'll tell you, I mean, Brihanna excels in the classroom, so we're looking at majors, we're looking at degrees that different schools have.
Part of the process.
Yeah, it's more than just basketball for her. She's a 4.0 plus student, and so I think right now she's trying to figure out what she would like to major in, because school. So that's kind of where we're kind of spending a little bit of our time and a little bit of our thought process, just trying to figure out some different career paths that she would like to go on after she plays in the WNBA, because she would, one of her goals and dreams is to play in the W. So, that would be something that she'd want to do after college, and then have that long career, but then also have something to fall back on from her degree.
No, most definitely. And I wouldn't think it would be any other way with you and your wife, Chelsea. I think it wouldn't be any other way, man. So, but what part of this journey has surprised you the most? Either about her process, either about her or the process. What surprised you the most?
I think I think her growth. One thing we always say in our house is we want to raise an outstanding young lady that happens to be pretty good in basketball. Not exactly in that order. We don't want an outstanding basketball player who is not a terrific or an outstanding person. And I think for me, it's how much she really gives back. I mean, she has adopted a classroom of second graders, and I think they're in 5th grade now, maybe 6th grade. She has gone up and read books with them. She's done basketball camps for them. She's been involved. And I probably would say 75 or 80% of this class is involved in basketball. So the fact that she has changed, and at this school, there are a lot of at-risk kids, but she is really enjoy and find something to do, that have, helped a lot of them. I mean, she's gotten letters and conversations from parents telling her what an incredible individual she and what an incredible effect she's had on their kids. And for me, for a parent to think a 17-year-old for having such an effect on their child, and they see joy in their child, they see them like basketball, they see them excel in the classroom, because she tells them you can't play basketball if you don't excel in the classroom. So for me, it's real easy. It's the effect that she has on others. I think sometimes in sports we can be so self-centered around ourselves, but I mean, last night Brianna's adopted one gal that she's training now. So and last week, gal that she's training sent a picture of her. She got MVP of her tournament. And I was so excited to read the text from the parents of this young lady. And so I go, let me see what this is all about. So I went and watched her train the girl one day, and they're getting after, they're doing some things, and they're building a good relationship. But if you could just hear the parent talk about the effect Brihanna has had on their daughter, that to me is what it's all about.
Well, good, man. I felt that when I first met her 3 years ago, and I just gravitated to her since then. I've been one of her biggest fans and try to be a part of the the BC show. So I want to make sure that I'm a part of it, and I always support her and see her around. But what has been her biggest challenge, man, for her on this rise? It's got to have been some challenges that she had. What's been her biggest challenge?
There's lots of challenges. I mean, her biggest challenge would be, how she's going to bounce back. I mean, this last time around, she made it through the second cut of the USA trials, and she didn't make the team. But when she walked out of the gym, it was one of those deals. She looked and she said, "Dad, I know I'm good enough to make that team, and I feel okay, and I feel good about where we're at." And the next day, she went out and got 500 shots up after she didn't make the team, and then that next year they won state in state, and she led our state in scoring. So for me, it's how she bounced back from the adversity that she faced.
Yeah.
Dwell, you can sulk, you can question yourself, and she did none of that. She smiled, and the fact that, the way she cheered on the team and some of the girls that made the team, she's really good friends with, and, had no ill words and just continued to cheer for them. I mean, I think that's the thing, Kerry. Coaches will realize once they get her, you're getting a good basketball player, but you're getting an incredible individual. Brihanna is a culture kid. She builds culture. There's only, I think a lot of those things you don't learn. You don't know. You recruit a kid for how they play basketball, but when you get them, you find out a whole lot about them. And I just think I'm just smiling, waiting for them to see what kind of kid they get when they get her, because, somebody that she's going to make coaches a better coach. I mean, and so that's what I
can't wait to see her at the next. I texted her the first time that she didn't make the team, the first time around. I texted her and I said to her, I'm trying to think, it was something real brief, but it was like something about the nature that we determine our wealth. No one else determines our wealth. We determines our wealth. And this is just a stepping stone. And you got so much more to come. The best is yet to come for you. So keep your head up and keep grinding. So I always felt that she was a USA kid, but we don't have control over that.
She will next time around. When I think in college, when she tried, it's to be continued. So we're good there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I tell you what, man, I've been enjoying this, man. And like I said, I've been trying to get you on, and I'm going to get BC on. She and I always connect. So I'm going to try to get her on here when she slows down and catch her on the mic and talk some basketball, man. So, but I really appreciate you coming on. And before we go, I know I seen you at Overtime. I'm going to have to post that picture when I seen you over at Overtime last year. And I know you guys just got back from Overtime. So, but if out of all this experience with BC, you've been through it. You've been through a lot of stuff, man. Let's give the girl dads something that you say, okay, dads, here's what you got. If you have a kid with talent or not with talent, but here with the high level talent, here's a nugget for you and it'll help you in your journey. What is it?
Well, it's kind of what I started the show with. I mean, you got to run your own race, and I hate to use a cliche, but comparison is the thief of joy. I mean, you just have to be everyone's biggest fan and at the same time, stop worrying what others are getting and focus on the work that you're putting in, because we have an unofficial saying is someday they'll lock everybody in the gym someday and you'll figure it all out, but again, we always just say you do the work and the work will show. So
right,
that's probably what I would say is stay focused on the main thing. The main thing is if you get better and keep getting better, coaches will see you in the way that you want to be seen, so that's probably it. And just don't compare yourself. I mean, run your own race. I mean, I say it over and over and over.
Stuff.
I say it all the time.
I hear a lot of nuggets, good nuggets coming from big time people that played the game. Antonio, Brandon Clay, like I said, Velasco, Biles, all these guys come on the show, man. And I like that nuggets, and all of them give a different nugget. And hopefully some of the guys on the Girl Dad show, you can visit our website at thegirldadpodcast.com and get some of these nuggets and help you out during this process. So check it out on the website. Thanks for coming, man. Tell BC I'll see her. I missed you guys in Dallas, man, because I was in Phoenix and I was trying to get back here and catch one game, and I was like, I can't miss that flight. But
yeah,
I'll catch her.
I'm sure you'll see lots of them.
Oh yeah, maybe I know somebody with purple is looking at her too, and that's with a purple uniform wants her to come over there. So if that comes, I'm gonna be like, man, leave me some tickets at will call.
See, you're funny. Right. You're trying to get something out of me, but yeah.
You like how I did that? I try to slick that in for them. But man, thanks a lot. I appreciate you, man. Tell Chelsea I said hi. Tell BC I'm gonna see her, and I'll catch her and tell her I want to get her on the mic so we can talk basketball.
Will do. Sounds good. We'll talk to you, brother.